the future of buying, an innovation that could change marketing, and what the heck is going on with TikTok? All that coming up on episode 2 of the CMO Weekly. Hey everyone, I'm Mike Proulx and welcome to the CMO Weekly, your source for marketing news and what it means to you. This week, we start with some news from Forrester. The company recently published research that looked at the future of consumer buying, and in it, they highlight 3 key insights. Number 1 is that increasingly consumers are looking to purpose-led brands as a source for brand loyalty as well as purchase decisions, and we know this to be especially true amongst Gen Z. This is about brands living to their values, not just saying what their purpose is. The second insight is that consumers are more willing than ever before to experiment with new brands and new products. Survey says an increase of 14% just in the past 10 years. And the third insight is that 62% of US adults in some way experience some kind of new online transaction as a result of COVID-19. And while so many people were forced and had to accelerate adopting transacting online because of the pandemic, what Forrester says is that the future of consumer buying isn't necessarily a shift from traditional to digital, that both need to have great experiences in order to satisfy consumer choice. There's a ton more detail in both Forrester's blog post about this as well as their full report on the future of B2C consumer buying, which I've linked to in the show notes right below. Let's talk about the soap opera that is TikTok. The ban on app downloads has now been pushed out from today until supposedly next Sunday, as President Trump just yesterday at a rally announced that he has, in theory, approved the deal with Oracle. Now, it should be noted that Larry Ellison, the chairman of Oracle, did a fundraiser for Trump earlier in the year, and the president of Oracle served on Trump's presidential transition team. That aside, both Oracle and TikTok did put out announcements today that they have an agreement over the structure of a deal. And what that would mean is that Oracle would have a small minority stake of 12.5% in the new entity of TikTok Global. The other minority stake is supposedly going to be held by Walmart at 7.5%. Now, the majority of the rest of the ownership is going to be the same for venture capital firms that have already invested in ByteDance. So the question remains, what is this even solving for? Lastly, a couple weeks ago on NECN, I spoke about a breakthrough from Purdue University where engineers designed a way to mass produce wireless paper interfaces. Here's a clip from that interview.
All right, Mike, what have the engineers at Purdue University come up with here?
It is pretty remarkable, Susan, to think that you can control an electronic device with just something like this that is untethered from the device itself. The breakthrough that the Purdue engineers came up with isn't so much that you are able to print circuit boards onto the piece of paper. People have been doing that for years. But what they came up with is a solution that's made up of highly fluorinated molecules that prevents the paper from burning because of the heat from the circuit boards. So the circuit boards themselves that they print onto the paper, they act as little pressure sensors that respond to the human touch. And they are completely self-powered because of something called triboelectricity, what you and I know as static or friction. And then the piece of paper connects wirelessly to whatever device in a similar technology that is close to what Bluetooth is like.
If you could just see my face, it's like...
This is important to marketing in at least 2 ways. First, it could serve to make product packaging more interactive and useful. And the second thing that it does is that it really, in the advertising space, bridges the digital and physical worlds. Maybe, just maybe, this is a lifeline for print advertising after all. That's what I got for this week. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your colleagues, and of course, like and subscribe. I will see you next Sunday evening for episode 3 of the CMO Weekly.